Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It's May the 7th of 2025, and yes, we're back. It's okay. The podcast did not end when Astro Royale ended. We considered it, but decided that ultimately, no, it was not worth ending the podcast in protest of, and so we're back here now after a week off.
Yeah, I've mentioned to Nick in the past, I was like, we always have to think about when the end of WMR is going to be. And there was a thought, I was like, what if we just end it when Astro Royale ends? The series that only came out like 8 months ago and none of us like.
I mean, it was a year ago, but yeah.
I like to pretend it wasn't.
You just want to pretend you got more.
I want to pretend that Green's got to run longer than Astro Royale.
Oh man.
Or Tenmaku Cinema got to run longer than Astro Royale, or any number of series.
So many things, yeah.
Yeah, but we are here. I hope everyone. I was almost going to post a Skeet earlier. I was going to be like, I hope everyone enjoyed their break, and I was like, no one else had a break. No one here in America, or most of our audience, for that matter, celebrates Golden Week. I guess if you did, I hope you had a wonderful Golden Week. I hope that was fantastic. For the rest of you, I hope you were okay with
Get back to work.
For the rest of you, I hope you enjoyed maybe getting a break from Weekly Manga Recap per week. Anyway, we're back, and we have an obscene amount of manga to talk about. Truly heinous, really.
Yeah. As a result of us taking a week off in conjunction with Golden Week, all the Shonen Jump manga that we cover were off. So fortunately, we're not doubling up on everything. But there are several series that we covered that are in Jump Plus that did not have a week off. And also there were some irregular series that happened this week. So as a result of that, we have 21 chapters to cover this week. Which means that if we want to be out of here in like 2 hours, then we're going to need to average about 5 minutes per. So we're going to try and keep things easy breezy and get through this.
Yeah.
Ichi the Witch, 30-second Hun sacrifice. Last time Ichi attacked the misery magic after it made Gokuraku mad. Ichi has shown up and has kind of like brought a bit of cheerfulness to him. They do a fist bump while Ichi is kneeling on top of the magic like a little shit. They start talking animatedly, and Descarus just has a little moment. They do herself, and she's like, huh, that's kind of weird to see that. It's two guys just hanging out fighting a magic. That's I'm not used to seeing that.
It's a very strange sight in this universe.
The Joyous Sorrow magic lashes out and starts getting really upset because they detect that Ichi smells a lot like the World Hater magic, even more than Descarus does, which is interesting, but I guess the Descarus didn't really get up close and personal with the World Hater magic, despite probably fighting it for longer than Ichi did. And so they demand to know what the hell they did to the Lord World Hater. And Ichi says, I'm Ichi, and I'm a witch. And I froze it in ice and stabbed it in the neck with a stick.
I love that for this series. This is normally that would be the bit we do because we don't want to read off their whole dialogue, but that is verbatim what Ichi says, is I froze it in the neck and stabbed it in the neck with the stick. And yeah, it's just beautiful, I love it.
Yeah, so the Joyous Sorrow magic says, I'm gonna fucking kill you! But Gokuraku comes in for an attack, goes for one of his synchro punches, but this time his fist sinks into a barrier called Misery's Mask. And the Joyous Sorrow magic says, I didn't want to have to do this because using this means that I have to use up some of the sorrow that I've accumulated, but start using it in barriers. And they declare that they're going to make Gokuraku and Ichi suffer and then kill them. So we get a skirmish, Ichi and Gokuraku in perfect sync, even using their attacks. But the sorrow magic just summons a sphere around themselves to block everything out. And then before anything can happen, Descaros does shout a warning, but all of a sudden, Radia, I think is her name.
Wasn't it like Reina or something like that?
I'm very close. Rania, maybe. But she appears in front of Gokuraku, crying, and makes him pause. And she asks that he stop trying to fight
Richia.
the magic. Richia, yeah. She asks that Gokuraku not attack Lord Bakugami because they are our savior and blessed god. Gokuraku objects and says, like, that is a demon. It's twisted you. It's twisted father, everyone in the country. And Richie instead changes gears and goes, so then it's my fault because I brought Lord Bakugami into the village. They're all twisted this way. And the Sorrow Magi says, that's right. You let me in and I'm going to destroy your country. It's all your fault. And Gokuraku, of course, demands that they stop, rushes in to punch, and then we cut to what he's not seeing, is that he is actually attacking Ichi, and he is not holding back this time. Massive shockwave goes past Ichi, who has to kind of matrix dodge out of the way.
Awesome visual, by the way, that you see
great.
The punch and then there's like 3 mock wave explosions behind him. It's awesome.
So Gokuraku has descended into rage, mindless rage, and the Sorrow Magic says, the sacrifice, challenger, is drawn into their nightmare. And those who are given my sorrow sown visions that drive them to insanity. Some break down and cry, some try to take their own lives, and some lose their minds to rage! Meow. And Gokuraku, he's not a happy boy right now. He's going berserk. Really like this chapter as kind of a connector in this arc. It's obviously in and of itself, it's a great cliffhanger to leave off on of like, oh shit, Gokuraku's been turned. But because of the stuff that we have seen built up in the story, it rewards you for following along with it because, you know, if you've been paying attention, we know how strong Gokuraku is, and we know he's not been using 100% on these synchro rates, so he's potentially much stronger than we've even seen. But there's also a lot of stuff going on in terms of like, hey, you know, how's this going to affect exactly what the magic does? Is this just, he's just making Gokuraku go through the trial now? Or is there more to it than this? And so it's like, hey, we've built up Gokuraku as this dangerous potential ally, but now he is a villain, not a villain, but, you know, an obstacle in this. Yeah. And then, of course, Descaros is there, but she's not doing anything right now. So a lot of stuff that I'm looking forward to seeing unfold after we have all that set up for us.
Yeah, I think this is the right call to go with because making Gokuraku sort of an antagonist about it. Like, I think there was just always an innate desire to see Ichi fight this guy. Like, he's the most cool looking person that's shown up during this arc. Nothing against the loathing and sadness magic or whatever it is. But like, I don't know. I'm not super excited for that fight, but like Ichi versus Gokuraku, pretty pumped for it. So yeah, I'm super excited about that. I am curious to see what we're going to see Descaros do. She's always going to kind of be this eternal sort of question mark in this series where we're like, we know how powerful you are, so what are you going to be up to? And maybe she's just going to be kind of handling the actual magic while Ichi has to deal with this.
All right. Blue Box. Chapter 194, Pure Happiness. It's January, and Taiki and Chinatsu are going out on a date for their 1-year anniversary in that suite. Taiki meets Chinatsu just outside his home, and they hold hands and they go off to celebrate in the city. First thing they do is they go to the movies, and they get a couple's half and half popcorn bucket. Good for them. Taiki's gets a moment because Chinatsu takes her winter coat off and she's got one of those shoulderless sweaters on, and he's like, "Oh, exposed shoulders!" Which this boy,
she plays basketball. You see her shoulders all the fucking time, dude. Like, It is adorable because it is an outfit that you're like, oh wow, like you normally don't see Chinatsu in like a dress or anything like that. But I do find it very funny that he's like exposed shoulders, like dog. You see those fucking shoulders all the time. Even if that was your thing, you feel like you would be a little overloaded on it.
This woman is exposing her ankles. It is a cute fit on her though. It's
Yeah.
really nice. They start up the movie, and Taiki kind of like orders himself to stop paying attention to how attractive Chinatsu is in every way right now, because he's like, I can't just be a creep. I'm just gonna enjoy being on my date. So he's evolved a little bit because he doesn't have to like run away from her in order to do this. He just refocuses.
He's improving. He doesn't scream and run away anymore when he's too obsessed. He's like, I'll just get it under control normally.
Chinatsu is paying attention to the film very quietly. Great moviegoer. Taiki gets distracted whenever there is a love scene. Apparently, he's like, ugh, makes him think about Chinatsu. But they go off to their next stop. Chinatsu's having a great time. They go shopping. She picks out some coffee mugs and holds two of them up and says, "Hey, which do you like better?" And Taiki picks it out and she says, "Okay, that's going to be yours." And he says, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Well, we should drink coffee together." And she basically says, like, "You can come over anytime, and this will be your coffee mug."
This is the cutest fucking thing.
Taiki, in an exchange of dialogue that I don't quite get, says, "Well, my parents would probably like be upset with me for bothering you." And she says, "Well, then you can sleep over at my place, and I'll go over to yours." And Taiki's like, "Well, what's even the point? Because you wouldn't be able to spend time with me, right?" I don't really understand what's going on in that dialogue. I don't get it.
She is saying like, "Hey, here's a cup for when you stay over at my place." And Taiki's like, "Oh, my parents wouldn't allow that." And she's like, "Okay, well then," she's just being Chinatsu, I assume, like a little joke, like, "Well then you could stay at my place and I'll go over to yours." And Taiki's like, "But what would even be the point? Because then I wouldn't be able to spend time with you."
Gotcha. Okay. It was a Chinatsu thing. Okay. Now I get it. But she also brings up, like, I don't have a whole lot of spending money right now, but I want to get more stuff, so I'm gonna start like working part-time to do that. And Taiki kind of sees that as another, oh, she's a year ahead of me thing because she's talking about work. I'm still in school and stuff. So he says maybe he'll get a job too. Plenty of high school students in Japan do have part-time jobs. There's a very cute little panel where Chinatsu has a giant plushy pig's head, and she says, "If this were a wild boar, I would get this." Which, I love that she's like, "I got my boyfriend a giant deer for me. I need a giant boar for my boyfriend." That's great.
Yeah.
But Taiki's kind of trying to remind himself, like, there's nothing I can really do about the fact that she's a year ahead of me. I should just try and enjoy this moment instead of worrying about it so much. They go to get some dessert. Very nice little fruit parfait looking thing. And Chinatsu snaps a picture of Taiki as he's getting ready to eat. And she says, "Oh, yeah, my friends take photos like this all the time, and I've always wanted to do it. It feels like pure happiness is right in front of me. They're just enjoying having a good time together. It's very sweet." Taiki takes a selfie of the two of them, and he says, "Let's take pictures at other places and make memories together and stuff." They bring up, like, Chinatsu driving, and then, Chinatsu says, "I know I'm going to, like, be moving out soon, and so we're not going to be physically close to each other as much anymore." And she says, "But whether I'm facing you like this, or standing beside you, or there with you emotionally over the internet, I'm not going anywhere. So you stay with me too, Taiki."
It's
got
good.
me real good.
It's real good.
Look, if this happens to not be one of an early episode of the Weekly Manga Recap for you, I met my wife and we dated for years over the internet. So this got me good.
I'm currently in the process of doing that myself. So yeah, I get
wish
it.
you all the luck with that. It's hard.
I just dropped him off at the airport earlier today.
Yeah.
It's Brutal.
Absolutely. Airports are a lot easier now that I'm out of a long distance relationship. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
So, Taiki, in response to that, starts to say senpai, but then he just says, Chinatsu, you're no fair. I wanted to tell you that. And Chinatsu points out that he just called her Chinatsu for once he didn't call her Chinatsu senpai. So, they're a bit closer, more emotionally intimate now.
Mm-hmm.
They finish up with dessert. They get set to head home, but Chinatsu realizes that she's missing a bag from her shopping trip, and it's not at the booth or anything, so she must have left it at some point, probably while she was trying on clothes. And so Taiki says, well, then let's go find it, and takes her hand, and they head back to the city together. It's very cute. These guys have been dating a year, and they haven't kissed. I better get a kiss on this date if it's not over yet. Come on.
I would love to hope so, but I know you can't ever truly predict how these things will go, but it does seem likely, right? Like they're going to kiss at the end of this.
Because the date's not over.
Yeah, they're going back into the city. It makes sense, but really, really good. Really, really cute. I also didn't mention it, but I also love the way the dress is drawn on Chinatsu. I feel like a lot of times it feels like, I don't know, you're just seeing like a model in clothing, whereas this time I do feel like this is just a pose that I always forget the Blue Box manga's name, but it just seemed like something they were like, oh yeah, I want to include Chinatsu in this dress, and it's just drawn into the pose she has, as opposed to like, here's what the model I'm basing this off of would look like.
Gotcha.
I could be wrong on that, but
more different varieties of reference photos were used as opposed to just looking up the I get you.
All right.
Excellent chapter. Black Clover double.
Nick, we have 2 chapters of Black Clover, starting with page 379, Absolute Messiah. They took out all the Lucius clones, the Master Lucius clones. They're doing great. It looks like everybody's won. Nick, they didn't win yet. The Grimoire Towers are activating. Nick, you remember the Grimoire Towers?
Absolutely. I remember them very, very, very much. Yes.
Okay, I need you to be honest, because I thought they just brought this up now. Like, I know Asta and everybody got their Grimoires in the first chapter, but, I didn't remember these were, like, a plot-relevant world-building thing. And, hey, turns out Master Lucius isn't dead after all. He had his own clone. We get a big 2-page spread where he's like, witness the advent of the Wizard Emperor. And all of them were clones, Nick. They were all Doom bots, and Dr. Doom was completing his plan off-screen, basically.
Yeah.
His goal was to link all of the kingdom's Grimoire Towers with an ultra-gargantuan spell, and he goes on to deliver a long little monologue about grimoires and, like, their purpose in this world. And basically they're sort of places that host knowledge, because when somebody has a grimoire, all the spells and all the knowledge they have increase it, and then when they die, the knowledge goes back to the Grimoire Tower. So he has now accessed all of these, and Nick, wouldn't you know it, Master Lucius can use multiple different kinds of magic.
But Quinn, it's multiple kinds of magic.
He can use basically anything. This guy's got everything in his wheelhouse. And
I honestly, it did not even occur to me that this was yet another multiple magic thing. I kind of just took it as standards, like, I can do everything, which is like, it's fine as, like, the final boss can do everything, sure. But I did not even clock it. I've lost my Black Clover criticism edge over these long breaks between chapters.
Absolutely, totally agree with that. I forgot these guys were even still around. It's like Mark's, like the Wizard King's assistant, and then the 2 purple orca guys, I think, or something like that. I don't even remember who all these guys are.
One of them's the purple orca captain. One of them is someone else. I can't remember that guy, though.
Yeah, one of them's a thief, but I don't know. Anyways, he kills them. And it's part of his explanation to say, hey, if someone dies, their magic goes into the towers and I can access it. So now I can use their spell, super duper powerful. Use the spell, ties up, I think, Yami, and he's like, oh no! Asta gets in contact with Ryu, who is watching everything from far away and kind of just talking about it. It's a very weird moment where he's like, hey, Asta.
This ain't good.
I know you know this, but that Lucius is real bad news. And I'm like, you spent time saying that. You put fucking thought process and all this sort of stuff into doing things, and that makes zero fucking sense.
All right, things are looking really bad right now. I need to use all my concentration to fight this guy. He's like, Asta, what is it? I want to let you know the guy's dangerous. You should have looked out. I told you he's dangerous.
Asta, dodge. I already dodged. Good. You should dodge.
Sorry, I'm on a latency on this thing. Dial up.
Let me drop the psychic connection and come back. Let me see if that clears it up. And you notice that what's his name? Lucius is dodging all of Asta's anti-magic attacks, but there's magic concentration in the crystal in his chest that if Asta hits it with one of his Ettins, that should do it. So we have our conclusion set now in the future. But it's going to be tough because even with blocking, there's a lot of challenges here. And Asta goes into attack, and who should show up but Asta's mom. And also the woman that Liev Schreiber,
also
I think
Liev's
it's
mom,
yeah.
Sabretooth.
Sabretooth, thank you. I forgot where the train ended at some point. So that he gets hit. Liev Sabretooth cannot strike his own mother. Asta and him both get struck in what seems like a pretty definitive blow, which leads us into chapter 380, The Brink of Despair, where things look like they are at their absolute worst. My favorite thing is because this is Black Clover, all the characters are kind of reacting in their own way. So Yuno's like, even if they kill that crazy kid, he won't die, which is kind of a cool line. But then Noel just shouts out into the air, Asta, now! And this is so funny to me because he doesn't do anything. He's dying on the ground. I was like, you shouted out now as though you had some kind of knowledge of what he might do or something like that. But boy's dying right now. Master Lucius uses all of his magic to start bringing back all the various defeated angels because essentially with his magic and the various different abilities he has, he could just resurrect bodies at this point. So he is bringing back everyone they've defeated. How can they possibly survive? This is so bad. Master Lucius is like, I'm going to kill you, Asta. And Yuno's like, no. And they start attacking each other. Yuno has to deactivate his Neverland spell because there's just no other option, really. Like, I hope my friends can hold out because I need everything basically on my side right now. And eventually, it doesn't seem like it's still working because, again, he has all these fucking spells. But there's a moment where Asta goes, not done yet. Yuno, do it. And he reaches into his grimoire and he pulls out a new sword, and I guess Yuno grabs it. This was a weird moment where I don't know when Yuno actually...
There's not really a transition between Asta grabbing the sword and Yuno having the sword later.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, Yuno is floating a little off in the distance, and you could presume that he gets closer and grabs it, but because they want to keep the reveal of Yuno, because that's our full page, 2-page spread to end it, is Yuno being like, all right, as long as I'm here, I could do this. And I presume this is a new sword, because it doesn't look like Yami's sword, and it's not as... I don't know. I don't remember as much on the series as I used to. Anyway, Yuno is going to use some of Asta's anti-magic to complement his own fighting. So
it looks like it might be the magic absorbing sword, which then just becomes partially transformed by Yuno's own magic combining with it.
Okay, maybe that's it. To my mind, I was like, oh, this must be a new sword, but maybe it's just because Asta feels like he always has such fucking, like, giant buster sword shit that I'm like, oh, that's like a normal-looking sword length. This must be a new one.
I use this one to butter my sandwiches. Here you go.
Asta, this is a normal size sword. You shouldn't be buttering your sandwiches with this. That's a lot of butter.
I like butter.
There's very little nutrients in butter, though. It's good. I actually don't really care about working out anymore. After this fight, I'm going to kind of let myself go.
Just gonna coast for a bit, I'll only do 300 push-ups in the morning.
But that's Black Clover. Master Lucius isn't defeated yet, but I imagine the next sequence of chapters might end up just being the end of it. So who knows?
It's possible. It could be that we get a set of chapters where it's, ending the fight, and then maybe there'll be, like, I don't know, one more to kind of conclude things and wrap them up. It seems like we're getting extremely close to the end, though.
I assume that even if Master Lucius is defeated next sequence of chapters, sometime in, like, fucking July or something like that, I still don't think that'll be the end of the series. We'll probably hear about that a little bit more in advance, but I think we're getting somewhat close, but who knows? It's the final battle in a shonen battle manga, so we could be here until 2028. I don't know.
Absolutely. Chainsaw Man! No. Chapter 201 first. Terror looks like this. All right, so Femi has been ordered through her resurrection by the actual Death Devil to cause terror amongst humanity. She interprets this, for whatever reason, to mean chucking rocks at her classmates. And so she starts doing that, throwing rocks at people. They're like, why are you doing that? She says, are you afraid of me? Just annoying people. You're as terrified as you can be, right? That's my mission. I have to terrorize you.
I'm terrorizing you. I'm switching all of your spices around on your spice rack. You won't know where your paprika is.
It seems to be going just great for her until she hits a kid in the head, and the kid's mom, like, cuddles him, and she starts crying because she did harm to that kid.
It's fucked up. She makes that kid bleed. I mean, it's wild because, everything else that happens in this in the next chapter, but they're just like, oh, that poor kid.
The falling devil shows up, pinches Fami's cheeks, and is like, that's not anger. That's not terror. That's anger. Terror looks like this. Cut away from there to Denji confronting the fake Saw Man, and then he spots over the fake Saw Man's shoulder some objects flying towards him, and of course it's a bunch of people who are under the power of the falling devil, and they're falling the wrong way. They're trying to catch themselves. Denji grabs, of course, a woman and holds on to a street sign with his other hand. There's a really cool panel where it's like from her perspective, so like she's falling downward from the perspective of the panel, but of course she's actually going sideways. The fake Saw Man calls Denji out on, did you save her because she's a woman? Denji doesn't answer, which is telling. He asks Yora for help, and Yora goes, and shoots the girl's arm off, and she goes flying away. And not only does she go flying, but she says, no way! And Yora thinks that's fucking hilarious. And Denji says, you look cute, but you were a devil all along. He's like, why are you surprised by this, man? Come on.
Denji, my boy, you had to knew something was going on.
Yora says that she's the only woman that Denji needs, which is going to be difficult for her being the way that she is, but, Chapter 202, Devil Combination. Yoru says, oh, you want to go? You want to throw it down? Are you mad? Are you mad? And then she points her finger and then just points at the fake Saw Man and goes bang instead. So she faked him out, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to tell with Yoru if she ever has a plan or if he's just winging it at any given
That's
time.
a very good point. It is very difficult to get a read on this character if, like, her chaos is, like carefully controlled and crafted, or if she is just kind of YOLOing it and just makes the best. I'm really leaning towards the latter.
Mm-hmm. Denji manages to use the opening to kind of jump through some rubble, cut off one of the fake Saw Man's arms, and the fake Saw Man accuses them of faking the disagreement, and Denji says, nope, this girl's just nuts. And Yora says, we're going home now, and points her finger at Chainsaw Man, goes to shoot them. And then some of the Chainsaw Man transformed people jump in the way, and they explode instead, fall apart. And then the Chainsaw Man is flanked by a whole bunch of these people who start to form Megatron, latching on to the Chainsaw Man and forming his new arms. And at first, it looks like it's just going to be very much, Frankie Megazord thing from One Piece, where they're just like holding each other. And then their bodies start distorting and becoming arms, and it's gross. And everyone agrees this is gross.
Yep.
The Chainsaw Man asks Denji, hey, cutting down strangers, it doesn't hurt you, but can you buzz through people pleading for your help? And all the people who have the chainsaw in them, it falls off, like it melts away, and they're just kind of back to normal, and they're all like, well, what the hell?
They're like, hey, what's going on? Ew, this is gross.
Why are we human centipeding this? What's going on? And they start begging for help because, they're a horrifying mass now. One of them starts begging Chainsaw Man for help, and he don't really know what to do because this is, when you think about it, a very off-putting, horrifying situation to be in. And then the Chainsaw Man lifts an arm and just goes to do a hammer fist and punch Denji, who gets out of the way, but that just means that the people that were on the end of that fist get their heads slammed into the ground, and they're going, save us, please. And Denji's upset by this, understandably. Well, I don't think those people are going to make it, but...
Nick, what do you mean? This is a series of happy endings. So I assume Denji will find a way to save them all. And it's going to work out great. It's a cool move. I do like this bad guy just using people against Chainsaw Man. I do feel like we're kind of spinning wheels a little bit here. This is a short chapter. Only 15 pages, and then last chapter didn't feel like it really progressed things too much. But that does seem to be kind of the pace for part 2, at least recently, is like you kind of sit in something for a while and then eventually you get to move forward.
It does seem as though a lot of fights in Chainsaw Man of late are less about like a big thing happening and more like a weird thing happening. And sometimes that's effective and sometimes not so much. And this seems like it was just not bad, but it was kind of standard.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, by Chainsaw Man standards.
Very much
by
so.
Chainsaw Sanders. Chainsaw standard.
Chain Sanders. He didn't go drafted in the first round, though, like people were expecting. He dropped to like the 5th round, didn't he?
Right. DanDaDan.
Oh, for the NFL listeners, I hope you supremely enjoyed it. We have 2 chapters of DanDaDan, starting with chapter 192, Departing for Shimane. And we continued the conversation that people, Vimola is unable to see Momo. Granny is also now starting to be unable to. Zuma's vision is basically completely gone at this point, and Daiki can't walk anymore. Like the curses are progressing, and things are looking pretty bad. So Vimola is gonna take over guiding Zuma, and Gigi will basically hold on to Momo because he has a very strong spiritual power. So he is the best. He says, "I swear I won't forget about you. I'll watch you nonstop." As they're walking, Daiki asks Rhea basically like, hey, why are you helping me? Like, the first time we met, you tried to beat me with the stick. And Rhea's just like, yeah, well, at the time, I thought it was your fault for turning Zuma into a zombie. And he basically goes on to explain that Zuma basically ran a small group, gang of basically outcasts. And he saved Rhea at one point. And also just looked out for local kids, basically people with bad lives. There's a scene of him like stopping a girl from abusing pills. And he's basically like, hey, make sure she didn't use any of this shit. And she's like, who cares? What's the point of being alive anymore? It's no fun at all. I can't do things like everyone else can. And Zuma simply responds like, look, sorry, but there's nothing I could do for you. I got no idea how to help you. But as long as you're here, it'll be fun for us. The way you join in, you make everybody laugh. I can't do that. Whenever you get sad, just come here. Just don't use that shit, basically. And we see that this girl gets sort of the acceptance in Zuma's group that she was kind of hoping to get in her family. So good stuff. Zuma has been protecting everybody. Just goes to show why he's so significant to this group.
Yeah, it's a nice thing. I like that we don't even really delve deeply into it. I don't think this girl's name ever even comes up.
I don't believe so, yeah.
But it's, just a quick little story of like, hey, there was just this random stranger that Zuma saved just by giving her a place to be, and that is essentially how Raya sees him, as like this guy gives me a place to be as well.
Yes.
It's nice to have that kind of story told to us by proxy through his eyes.
Exactly. A news report goes on through the airport saying that there was a vehicle attack that was transporting prisoners, and 3 of the prisoners escaped. They are Johiko, Juichi, and Jumanuel Quito. Jumanuel Quito. It's the Quito, the subterranean people. And who should be there but Mama, Grand Matron, subterranean lady. I always forget her name. But she has Momo's jacket. The set is leading her here. Interestingly, they have not forgotten Momo. So that is worth noting. And we end that chapter on a 2-page spread. They're about to go flying. And that is where shit's going to get real. We open in chapter 139. You people? Not a great opening, but they're on the airplane. Gigi is noticeably nervous about this. We get a 2-page spread of the plane taking off. And then there's a moment where Momo lands on Zuma's shoulder, and he's like, oh my gosh, something landed on my shoulder. And she's like, wait, you can hear my voice? He's like, yeah, it's you. I just can't see you. My eyes are basically gone. And he calls her a girl when he says that. He's like, I can't see you though, girl. And she's like, hey, don't call me girl. I hate it when people call me that. And he's like, then tell me your name. You said you wouldn't before. So she's reminded of when
they went through a lot without her name coming up.
She's like, oh, my bad. But Gigi comes in and is like, you don't have to tell her. You don't have to tell him anything. You go to different schools.
This is annoying.
This is where you have to be reminded these guys are teenagers. So Gigi comes into basically, we go to different schools. You're complete strangers. Once this business is over, I'd honestly prefer you have nothing more to do with us. And Momo's like, what the fuck, Gigi? I can at least tell him my name. But Zuma's, responds appropriately. He's like, good. I don't want anything to do with you either. But how I interact with her is up to me. And I intend to continue to be involved with her for the foreseeable future. Obviously, people take that the wrong way. And he's like, oh, I meant in the sense of socializing. You have the wrong idea.
You just have a dirty mind, which is a great flex, honestly.
Yeah. And Gigi, face fucking flush. He's like, I'm not some clingy boyfriend, so get a hold of yourself. And Gigi is very, very upset about all of this. Gigi continues to basically hump until Vimola switches seats with Zuma. And
someone's got to be the adult, and if it's Vimola, you're in trouble.
I was gonna say she's basically like an 8-year-old with the mech suit. So there's a moment where Momo goes to check on her grandma, who's not doing so well. She seems absolutely wrecked. But as Gigi's kind of looking out to get a flight attendant, a knife comes to attack him. But the umbrellas from Zuma's Futa ability pop in the face, and he notes like, holy shit, this guy had a knife. There's an enemy on board. This is really, really bad. Everyone starts getting into action. Fights start occurring. And there is a moment where Vimola gets in her suit, and she's going to activate subspace, basically, or empty space. She's activating heart-pounding hidden mode. So they're able to transport themselves into empty space. Now, what that means for a moving situation, I don't know.
That's a good point.
Previously, when they've done this, it's been at a stationary location, like the school or Momo's house or something like that. I don't know how that works in something that is moving however fast planes move. 1 billion miles an hour? I don't know, Nick. I'm not a scientist.
Well, it's definitely not that, I can assure you.
100 miles an hour, then.
I mean, likely more than that, yes.
Okay. So I guess we'll find out. But they activate subspace. So it's just going to be our main people there. Granny's there. That's helpful. But the subterranean mama comes out and just says, I knew you were no ordinary people reacting to the fact that they just created empty space. But I never imagined they were bastards from that side.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on here. I really like the build intention that's going on here with the curses that everyone's dealing with, because we're at a point now where, of course, we know that people are starting to forget Momo, to the point that Vamola doesn't, recognize her or anything, and that Seiko doesn't. And now we get the explanation of it seems to be spirit energy, and so that makes sense why Seiko doesn't remember Momo. It's because she's really low on gas right now.
This was also brought up to me because I was wondering, I was like, it's kind of strange. She's supposed to be very powerful. She's powerful in her hometown, which they're not in anymore.
Yeah. And she's also dealing with broken ribs and shit.
Yeah.
So it's Gigi and Zuma are basically like the only ones with them right now who really can tell that she's there. And like if they get their powers exhausted, and also Zuma's blind.
He can't see her. He can, if she lands on his shoulder, she can hear him, or he can hear her and stuff like that. But yeah, like.
So it seems like it's really a really dire situation for Momo at this point, and I wonder how far it's going to be taken. I mean, we're already at the point as well where she's been separated from most of her friends. And I am curious about a couple of things as well in regards to that, because since it's been established that people are starting to forget about her, we haven't seen Okurun comment on her. And right now he doesn't have any spiritual power. So I'm kind of curious about that, if it's just going to be like a thing where he just also doesn't remember her, or he does, and it could be, gut-wrenching one way and very intriguing in terms of his connotations with the other. So there's a lot of things involving her situation that I'm looking forward to seeing how they play out. And it really does feel like, hey, how are they going to get out of this with her situation in particular? Because the person like guiding them to the solution doesn't remember who she is.
Exactly. I'm very excited to see where they try to go with this. Like, this DanDaDan's very good at like building into suspense. Like, there are multiple times in like watching the first season of the anime and then like rereading it where you're like, yo, things look bad. Like the Loch Ness monster fight, I was like, I don't know how they get out of this. So this is definitely feeling like it's going to be one of those scenarios. Like, I guarantee there's going to be a cliffhanger chapter sometime soon where Gigi's going to start forgetting her.
Absolutely. Yeah, it seems like we're heading that direction. And meanwhile, in Kaiju number 8ville, Kikoru has engaged with the Meireki Kaiju, and she swears that this time she's gonna get her father's, essence out of this thing, which she failed before. A lot of fighting happens. Kafka is dodging around stuff, uppercutting the Meireki Kaiju, and together their efforts are allowing Kaiju number 8's attacks to at least be effective now. Meanwhile, Kikoru is darting around. She's using number 1's ability to try and find the core, but already she's starting to overheat. Like, goop is dripping out of her eye, like her eye is bleeding. And Hoshino realizes, like, yeah, it makes sense. She's not as proficient with it yet as Captain Narumi is. And she's also using 2 numbers weapons at once. She doesn't have a lot of time to do this. So Kafka makes a plan, noting like, okay, the Meireki Kaiju is going to protect its core, it's going to condense its shield, so we need to concentrate a huge amount of power on a single spot to break through that shield. How are we going to expose the core? And Mina says, leave that to me. I'll shoot it down with Keraunos. And she is hustling towards a base nearby. And Kafka remembers something that happened in like season 1, basically. Kikoru keeps on focusing. She's like, I gotta follow the signals, I gotta find the core, and she's searching these motes of light and strands of energy connecting them, and she realizes there's all these different cores that it has from Kaiju it's absorbed. It must be deeper. I've gotta keep on searching and searching, and she's bleeding from like every orifice in her head at this point. She's concentrating. And as she does that, she has a flashback to when she was a little kid. She recalls that she was pretending to be asleep. she had a little plushie of her mom, which is both cute and kind of creepy. I understand that her mom was like a celebrity kaiju hunter, so it makes sense that this existed. But anyway, she confesses to her father in her mind, I was pretending to sleep back then. And basically, her mother had said, I'm going to be harsh on her when we train her. So you're going to have to be the one to give her lots of love and attention. And of course, then she passed away, and Kikora knows that's when her father decided to stand in for that role, to just be the harsh instructor and parent at that point, which doesn't really absolve him, but I do appreciate that we have the context there of like why that happened.
Mm-hmm.
She does find the core. She shares its location with other people. The Meiriki Kaiju lunges to attack her, and her winged outfit that she's using to fly around is starting to falter because she's just at her limit at this point. She can't keep fighting any further. And Kafka starts to head forward to try and help her out after she gets knocked into a building. And she says, stay back. I told you I'm done being rescued. Resuming mission. And she holds her gun up, starts fighting again. And she says, I'm going to be okay. It doesn't matter what I face, no matter what kaiju I stand against. Captain Arumi, Mom, Dad, I will surpass them all and be the strongest Defense Force officer there ever was. And she fires and Kafka punches, and they've got the target all set and lined up. Kafka shouts out to Mina, and we get a big old 2-page spread of Mina locked in with Karaunos, a giant railgun on a building far away, and she says, locked on. And that's where we leave off.
Look, that moment with the giant railgun is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Everything else, it's fine. It's just fine. I think it's kind of been mentioned a couple times. I don't know if it's been specifically in our Discord, just conversations I've had, but like the big thing is that there is no personality to the Meiju era kaiju. It's just a big thing to beat up and punch. And it's kind of boring. Like, it doesn't really talk, and if it does, it's just a generic, like, yeah, it's just nonsense. So that, I think, is the biggest thing kind of holding all these elements back. It'd be a lot cooler if there was, like, an interesting, fun antagonist that was, like, at the other end of all this, but...
Yeah, maybe it wouldn't have eyes, but it would, like, have some weird thoughts on humanity. It would pose as humans and stuff, but not really know how to act like them properly all the time.
Maybe there'd be, like, a scene early on where it, like, hung out in, like, a toilet stall, and this was before we knew its name, so everyone would just call it the toilet kaiju for a while. Yeah,
that'd be cool.
That'd be really nice. Oh, well.
Can't do that. Spy Family Mission 115. A visitor arrives at the garden, that assassins association that Yor is a part of. And this representative of the government shows up to meet with the shopkeeper, who I think we've only seen in one scene so far, one brief scene where Yor had a conversation with him. This guy's name is Director Wilker. He, makes brief conversation with the shopkeeper, and eventually, he gets to a point where he, presents him with a number of vouchers, and he says, I was under the impression we'd only just gotten out of a war, but day by day, the pendulum is swinging back to the right. It's been tough for the prime minister. And the shopkeeper's like, I don't care about power struggles and stuff. So, but he gets one of these dossiers and opens it up, and it strikes him as curious, and he agrees that they'll take that one. So he brings up that the Southwest was once imperial land. Garden has pursued these vile dastards in the past, but our intelligence network was unable to identify the perpetrators. I'm grateful you brought this to me. So they're going to take that. Director says, "Oh, you want to look at the rest?" And the shopkeeper gets up, heads away, and says, "Do not forget, we at Garden act in the service of the nation. We have no intentions of becoming the peons of some politician." So we elect on information if their interests align, but that doesn't mean that they answer to
Exactly.
this guy in any way. The director heads off and he talks to himself as he's doing so. He's like, yeah, his loyalty is to a dead empire. Whatever. Get me out of here. And so he drives off. We see Yor along with, oh gosh, his name is actually said, Matthew, her contact, the older guy with glasses.
Mm-hmm.
They're going through the garden. Yor spots a little ladybug and it lands on her fingertip. Ooh. And then a kunai comes flying through the air, and it's in a nifty little scene. Yor lifts the ladybug out of the way with one finger and catches it with two other fingers on the same hand.
That's very cool.
And it's like, because he's like, oh, but it's like, that's a tremendous amount of skill. So this long-haired assassin has shown up. They're carrying a cane and are identified as Hemlock. And there's also a creepy little kid-looking assassin there named Gimpy. I had to look up this word.
Making sure it's not a slur of some kind.
It is a type of plant that is known for being like insanely painful if it pricks you. So, and it is pronounced Gimpy. So with emphasis on the first syllable.
Well, thankfully he's been here the whole time.
He's been here the whole time, like Sam Reich. So the shopkeeper shows up at that point, greets them all, and says, let's go talk over tea in the gazebo. He congratulates them on the fine work that they've done, gives them a new assignment, and they are told that they're going to be eradicating poachers. The shopkeeper explains that poaching is a source of income for organized crime syndicates, and they're conducting business with the West. The poachers are not skilled or well equipped, but they're numerous. And also, there's, elk that are affected by this. And we get a shot of a big, beautiful elk, which I can only imagine is going to appear in this arc. It seems like this is not a detail that would be included if that were not the case. So the shopkeeper says that this is going to require actually multiple missions, largely because of the number of poachers that they're dealing with. And he says that he's going to send Matthew and Thorn Princess, Yor, on the first mission, and they're also going to bring one more for support. And Hemlock says, I'll go with them. And the shopkeeper warns, don't accidentally harm the elk, given that this guy, randomly threw a knife at a ladybug just now. That feels like fair warning. So, yeah. And we get a brief little contrast of the personalities of the assassins involved. Yor says, oh dear, I hope there aren't any big swarms of bugs there. And Hemlock says, continue speaking such drivel in my presence, and you'll be the first target I prune. And I was like, oh.
It's a funny way to set it up. It's very amusing because I'm like, Yor's so fucking cool. And I'm like, this new guy, I'm like, fuck off. You're not as cool as Yor. Get out of here. You can't threaten her. She's the best. She'll tear you apart. You don't stand a chance.
There is a creepy child assassin, and of course I'm immediately intrigued by their whole deal, but apparently they're not going on this mission, so we're going to have to, I guess, find out what Gimpy's deal is later.
Well, how do we know, Nick? They've been here the whole time.
They've been here the whole time. Maybe they're just going to be there the whole time.
Honestly, now that they've introduced that as kind of his gimmick, I would not be surprised if he just shows up at any point and he'd be like, I've actually been here the whole time.
Just been here.
Yeah, it's
good. He just shows up and is like, your daughter is psychic. How do you know? I've been in her bedroom. She just talks to her dog after reading its mind and stuff. It's really weird that you were in her bedroom. I'm also 6. It's fine.
Yeah, it's not a weird thing. I'm a child.
I'm just a child who kills people, which is not a weird thing at all.
Yeah. Your child reads minds. That's a weird thing to do, too.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Yep. So, set up for the next arc. Hey, there we go. Moving forward.
Indeed. All right.
World Trigger, Chapter 252. The Way Mission Test, Part 43. Oh, man, we're going to get 50 chapters of this. We're going to get 50. We're going to get to 50, everybody.
It's going to be way more than 50. This isn't even the Away Mission Test Part 1, Part 43. Like, we know that there's a combat section.
Oh boy. So we get some planning about stuff. Look, a lot of this is just planning on how we're going to handle like written tests. There's a lot of conversation that happens here that's kind of just telling us obvious points. Wakamura squad, when they're talking, however, they bring up like people are going to think we cheated based on the scores we got today, based on their combat scores and stuff. Hosoi is the one who's freaking out about it, the operator, because she got a lot of points. But Wakamura is like, I mean, that's not a big deal, though, that you got a lot of points. Who cares? Then we get a bunch of conversation between the monitoring room and they observe the fact that because Wakamura's score shot up a whole bunch because they have been stockpiling written answers and everything, now everyone is wondering like what all the other squads are up to. He brings up that the Codera squad is a bystander in all this, but suspicion is also falling on them because of it. They bring up as well, like, hey, why did Mizukami like take screenshots of the delegate assignments before? Was he planning on doing stuff like this beforehand? Because they bring up, and Mizukami was saying, oh, we're going to like stay up late but not too late today in order to do this stuff. And I almost said the wrong name for him. I keep on wanting to say Jin, but it's not Jin.
Which guy? The
scruffy guy with the donut.
Fuck. Tachikawa?
I think that's it.
Yeah, Tachikawa.
Yeah, I kept on going in my head, Jin. It's not Jin. Jin. No, I just said it wasn't Jin. And I just kept on rebounding.
He's basically like Jin.
Yeah. He's Jin's rival. Anyway, he says that, I'm pretty sure Mizukami was planning to do that already, but he was just planning to do the assignments all himself because that's just how he operates, They go over like, hey, why did they allow all these things to happen in terms of the way things were worded about being allowed and not allowed? And Khan, I think is her name, says, I think that the judges are trying to assess people's personalities in terms of, who will stay with the rules and who won't. She goes into this long analysis about stuff, and she brings up like, obviously people want people who will find loopholes, but if everyone is just hunting around for loopholes, then that would be chaotic and bad for border. So they don't want everyone to do that. There's a need for having flexible versus inflexible agents. And she brings up that Commander Kido is an inflexible type of personality, so he knows how crucial that is. So then we go all the way up to HQ for their meeting. We get a look at the way that the judges have been awarding the points to all of the different test takers. There are some interesting things here and there, like the fact that Katori has scored the fewest points out of anyone. She's got 13, which is half as much as the next person up. But it makes sense, she kind of was like causing shit and has not made any like, good personable contributions to her team.
Also worth noting that even though she is the lowest scorer, her team is ahead on points that we can see.
Yes, because every one of her teammates, Osamu included, has over 100 points. So their team is doing the best, and she is basically the load.
Yeah.
Which is not the way they've been operating, because she's been helping out where she can. It's just that it's not in a way that stands out, which is kind of a point that Kido brings up, which is, hey, there's a bunch of people who are just in middling levels of points in the 70s and stuff who are cooking, cleaning, keeping things organized, and are like just gradually contributing, but they're not getting given points by the judges in such a way because they're so focused on like, oh, what a big flashy way to stand out and stuff. The rank and file agents aren't being recognized that way. They also note the point that 98% of the actions taken are points given versus points taken away, demerits given. So
they bring up a good point too, where they're like, hey, like, these are their coworkers. Like, they don't really want to be giving these guys negative points.
But Kido brings up that it's okay for spectators to judge people this way, but we're looking for people who are essentially good for coaches and people who can judge their fellow players. They need to have a higher standard of judgment. So, of course, there's multiple layers of like we're testing the test takers and the test graders as well at the same time with all this shit. Then we get to the point of the door. And they break down like these guys broke the door, these guys fixed the door. They say they're going to give more points to those who fixed the door, but they're also going to give extra points to Yuba, to Arafune, and Taichi. I don't know. It seems like a mistake to me.
I want the world where you're an A-rank agent, or like 93% of the points have been positives. Excluding Nicholas, because he really brings the average way down. There's been a lot of demerits from him towards Taichi, most of which are about his hat. He cannot control that. He purchased it once. You could give him a negative once, but every hour is cruel.
No.
You're like,
he continues to wear it. I'm telling you guys.
He still has the hat on.
He's hiding a brain slug under there. We could give points to Taichi's brain slug for coming up with these good ideas, I suppose, but we can't give them to him. He's still wearing that stupid hat. But anyway, he was the one who notably said, like, hey, we need to treat this like it's like an emergency on a ship as opposed to just a test for us to take. And so because of that, they say, like, he's got, a solid, like, core to him. We are told at the end of all this that it's the end of day 6 of the sealed environment phase, on to day 7, the final day. Don't tease me with this.
Please.
Oh my god.
Mr. Ashihara, may I finally be released from this prison, the ultimate tantric exercise of experiencing a shonen battle manga 3 or 4 years at a time.
Oh man, it's like Endless Eight all over again. Yeah, there were honestly a couple of interesting things. I liked at least getting the overview of like the judges judging the judges, and I liked that we finally did get a straightforward point about that in terms of these guys need to like be more brutally honest and also look out for more things. It's nice.
Yep, good stuff.
Embers! Remember the name! Chapter 13, Yuzen Nerima. Hey, Quinn, this would have been a fun little match to watch, wouldn't it? Oh well, it's done now. We're moving past it. Round 2, done!
The series isn't canceled. It's just going kind of quirky and fast,
I want to know everything about this goalkeeper character with the fan and the hat. They are ridiculous. What is their everything?
I do truly want to know more about these characters, but it's irrelevant. They're already done. Who cares?
Yep, Haitani is got it all figured out now. He's stealing like crazy. Kosei is up 2 goals in just the first half, but Haitani is worried because he knows, like, hey, our next game, if they win, is going to be against Kurobayashi, and that's going to be difficult. We cut over to Hikage and Nagishima, something like that, who are scouting Kurobayashi's game, and I like that we see him again. It's like he's no longer part of the main squad, so he's fulfilling other duties elsewhere. This would have honestly been an interesting kind of like an Inui situation in the Prince of Tennis, where he filled other roles on the team before rejoining the main squad. But they're scoping stuff out. They've got a camcorder, binoculars, and everything. We are told that the main strategy of Kurobayashi is just possession play, where they do a lot of really well-controlled passes. And we're told, like, obviously that can cause a problem if you're playing that cautiously. But because they're good, it works. They're not just, like, holding on to the ball and killing time. They are gradually scoring as well. And not just gradually, because we get some more information on that. So their coach has instructed Nerima to start the game, which Nerima didn't want to do. So he said in practice ahead of time, hey, you play a little game with me And if you win, I'll let you come out of the game. And not only that, you can start the next game on the bench. And we get a clock while this is happening. It's 12 minutes, 22 seconds into the game. And seconds, tenths of seconds slowly tick by. And so we are told, like, yeah, we're going to do this thing. And, then we get to a point where Nerima is cornered by like 3 different defenders, and time slows down, just stops. And Nerima observes the action from outside his own body, and he basically plays out different timelines in his head. Mm-hmm. If this happens, then this will happen. And so he assesses like left leg, then right, then up, and fast forwards and then rewinds the action back to the point where he stepped out of himself, and then just to, really, own somebody, he kicks the ball over their head, runs past them, and then kicks the ball for a score. And we're told that the game that he was challenged to was to score with his right leg, then a header, then his left leg, in that order, in the first 15 minutes of play, and then he could come out and sit on the bench. So he did a hat trick with instructions in 15 minutes, and that's how good he is.
Yeah.
So he goes to sit down. The coach says, I guess I made that too simple for you. And he says, hey, by the way, Nerima, here's a what-if scenario. Do you think you would have more fun in this game if you got to play someone better than you? And Nerima says, someone better than me? No one is better than me. And of course, at that moment, we cut over to Kosei's game. Haitani has just stolen the ball again for his team. And so Nerima's coach says, are you sure? And yeah, I mean, we're fast forwarding at this point. It's fine setup. But it feels rushed at this point.
Very much so. It's very clear we're getting canceled moving forward very quickly. That said, it's still kind of cute what we did get. Or not cute, but like cool. Like, it seems like it could have been a fun sports manga if it had been able to kind of find its legs. But sadly, that's where
that gimmick with the fast forwarding and rewinding feels like it would be a lot cooler if it were given. But because we're at a point where it's like, we got to do this and this and this and this and just get through it. I don't think it had quite as much time to breathe as it could have had. And it would have probably been much more effective with that extra space dedicated to it. But it's not getting it because we got to get to that finish line at this point.
Very much so. But still good. And in the interim, it looks like we're going to jump into Hima-Ten.
Yeah, it's a chapter number 40, new term. It's past summer vacation. Maro is in his big, comfy cell, but he's upset. And so Himari's going, don't, I've got to go to class. I'm sorry. Don't spend a whole lot of time on that, but it's nice to have some connection to the previous chapter. We get a little bit of catch up from people coming out of summer break. Kana's been getting a lot of work. Kanai greets Iemori, and then Himari shows up. And, Himari, this is the first time they're back in class after she has admitted to herself that she has a crush on Iemori. So she has to kind of like remind herself, like, don't panic. Everything's fine. Nothing's changed. It's all good. Their teacher introduced the fact that it's like, hey, winner of the city meets 100-meter race is here, and it's Sumire Terasaka, and she gets a big full length of the page introduction. So immediately, of course, it's like, oh, this is a new character, joining Smash. She comes in.
Sumire Terasaka says here, it says here into Smash, stalks her way into the team.
And so everyone was like, oh, wow. And of course, there are people going like, she's also really hot. And it's like, all right, calm down, everybody. Bunch of people are commenting on everything. And some people are congratulating Terasaka. She's like, everyone be quiet. And Himari looks at her and says, oh, she's pretty cool. And then she says to Iemori later on that they used to know each other, or at least she thinks that they knew each other, but she's not really sure because it's been such a long time. And she's like, yeah, my mom said she took Maro from a friend. This morning she told me that her friend's daughter goes to our school too. So she thinks that that must be where it came from, but she's not 100% on that. So Yamori brings up like, well, why don't you like just go bring it up to her? Like you could thank her for, your new cat friend. And Himari says, I don't really remember her though. And Yamori had said like, oh, I was in like her class last year. So I was like, can't you do it instead? You know her better. So he approaches and I do like this. This is the most like a guy I feel he's just like, hey, nice to see you. Yoshio wanted to say thank you for her cat. Just gets through it immediately.
It's very adorable, but also like would give me anxiety if I was next to somebody this bluntly straightforward on things.
Yep. Himari has a bit of an awkward thing, like, oh yeah, and my mom said we knew each other as kids. Yeah, I named the cat Maro, thank you. And Terasaka like just averts her eyes and says, it's whatever. And so that's an awkward moment. So she says like, yeah, I you're famous. I'd heard that we used to be friends, but whatever. I wasn't really involved with the cat. She just like plays it off and just kind of like holds her at arm's distance, and that's it. Like some friends show up, and I was like, oh, you mind if can I go? I don't want to like draw too much attention to us and stuff. So of course afterwards, Himari's like, why does she hate me? Because it did seem like she was playing it off like she didn't like Himari.
Yeah.
So, Imori's trying to say like Terasaka's, kind of tomboyish. Maybe that's all that was going on. And Imori's like, no, she hates me. I know she hates me. You're very wrong, but it's okay. It's okay, Imori. And she's just kind of upset because she's like, I thought we could be friends. And so Imori's got to like, kind of deal with that now. So he's walking home that day, and it's like reflecting on what he knows about Terasaka, which is that like she is a pretty direct, blunt person, but she is nice. So her acting cold towards Himari is unusual. So he's like, oh, I'll try and make her feel better when I visit her for stuff. But then he spots someone in an alleyway, and they're wearing a hoodie, mask, sunglasses. And he starts to feel like, that's weird. What's going on? And then he realizes, like, if I'm being stalked, this could be a problem for Himari because she wants to avoid any rumors that she is, like, dating anyone. So he tries to lose the stalker, runs away, runs down an alleyway, and instead spins around and confronts them when they run after him. And, accidentally touched the boobs, but it goes by pretty quickly, at least. It's not, like, a ridiculous thing. And of course, it's Terasaka in disguise. She is incognito. And of course, Yamori's like, what's going on? Why are you dressed like that? What are you doing? And so Terasaka is like, you don't live around here. So what are you doing here? And Yamori says, I'm just going to work. And she says, you liar. I know that you're stalking Yoshino, you sicko! I know you were headed to Yoshino's house! And she knows this because of the cat. Her mom told her where the house was. And she's like, I know the condo is right over there, and you're heading that direction. And also, she says, I know that you always got your eye on her. I saw you two at the camping trip. She took a picture of them while he was giving her the piggyback ride. Le gasp! I don't know why she did that, but le gasp!
To have definitive proof that she saw this thing, I guess.
So she starts.
She's not obsessed. She doesn't even care.
No,
she's not mad. No. She's not mad, Nick. As
no.
She says as she turns into the corn cob. She doesn't even care.
Terasaka says, you can't just do that. You can't just, go stalk people and track them down to where they live and everything like that. And she gets right up in his face over this. And Imor says, like, what the hell? Have you always been this way? So he of course asks, why are you watching us like that? So Terasaka's like, all right, good point. Fine. Will you confess if I tell you my secret? I'm part of the official Himarian fan club, and she has a membership card Presumably the fan club she started because she's members number 1. So she is, in fact, a huge fan of Himari, and that's why she was so awkward around Himari, is that she didn't want to be around her, and it's like, my own goddess was talking directly to me. I couldn't keep my cool in that situation, and now she's like, why did this happen? And she starts to have a little freak out there, and then she's like, but you're a stalker, and I know that you are. And they, I guess, scuffle, trip over each other, because wouldn't you know it, Iamori falls over with Terasaka on top of him, right when Himari shows up and demands to know what the hell the two of them are up to. Whoop, up, 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 up. Romantic comedy shenanigans.
I'm not against this. I think this new character's fine. I like that she has a different personality. It's also just kind of nice that there is hopefully someone who's a little bit abrasive towards Iamori. Not that I want there to necessarily be like conflict, but it's just like, you know, we kind of moved past Himari and Iamori having conflict with one another pretty quickly. So it's just nice to have somebody who doesn't like see Iamori and immediately want to like worship the ground he walks on. And like, yeah, she's just a different type of character for the group, a track star. Maybe this will be our tomboyish character or something like that.
Seems like it.
So everything seems good right now. And I like that she already has a pre-existing connection to Himari. So it just like, you know, integrates her into the group pretty easily.
There's a lot of parallels you could draw between her and Sugumi from Nisekoi, in that she is the tomboyish character who has a secret, very feminine side and also has a connection to the main girl. But I do really like that energy. I agree with you. I feel like, you know, despite the fact that, you know, we've got at this point a very firmly established main 3, I thought that this was a pretty good introductory chapter for a character who ultimately doesn't do a whole lot yet.
Yeah.
So I do look forward to seeing more from that. And who knows, maybe there will also be some more of that Himari connection, but probably not.
Yeah. Now just make sure you go to you don't stalk anybody, Nick, because if you do, you end up going to prison. And it may not necessarily.
It's a nice prison.
I would hope it's a nice prison in that case.
I'm not gonna go blow for blow on this chapter. There's not really much of a point. I will summarize that there is an actual breakout attempt that happens in chapter 2. Only stepped out to pass along the memo. I will say there are jokes that I recognize the structure of in this chapter. I don't think I laughed at any point while watching this, but there are some that on their face I could say, that's a potentially funny idea. Like the fact that we introduce our Elite Four villains, and by the end of this chapter, there's only one left. And
one was always dead.
One's already dead. There's just a memorial photo of them. That is a funny idea. Yeah. I don't think it's executed great, but it's a funny idea. There's the fact that there's the breakout, and it apparently is just an excuse for the prisoners to throw a festival of some kind. That's a funny idea as well. The hole that they make in the wall, a grandmother outside comes through it and just kind of like just acts like she's part of the staff of the prison afterwards, like it's caught up in escorting someone off. That's a funny idea. I'm still not a fan of this at all, but it's not nearly as bad as the first chapter. If the rate of improvement chapter to chapter stays the same, then 200 chapters from now, this will be a good series.
It is worth noting that the last page of this as well is just a 4-koma thing. So
yeah,
that's just going to be, I guess, part and parcel with it. Honestly, a series that might be more interesting in this format, honestly. I thought probably the better jokes I had in it were from these. Like, I kind of thought the one where they're like, you're cheating with your mask.
That actually got a little chuckle out of me. It was like, oh, it's just a love note. That's nice. Wait a minute, you are cheating. But that's good. That's good.
Weirdly doesn't involve a prison at all, though. So it almost feels like maybe the prison is a detriment to the comedy series that this person is making.
Maybe we're just kind of trapped in this prison of bad jokes, and we need to be let out of it.
Do we need to be let out, or can we just hang out in the prison for a little bit?
Well, I'll tell you who needs to be let out of that prison, Quinn. Those kids and Sid Kraft!
Very clever. Sid Craft, love is a mystery. This is case 22, the imposed choice and a new clue. So we are introduced to a new character who is like, I see. So Mistcat granted Zero's request and murdered Elio Evelyn, didn't she? And the two grunts like, yes, Zero will be most pleased. And he's like, looks like you two were tricked and trailed, as, Sid and Lulu both show up and they're like, all right, release the kids. And this individual basically says a phrase. He's like, oh, get your acts together. You guys rushed in without even thinking things through. This is all for the sake of love. And that simple word seems to force the two grunts into an action.
King has invited you to Lake Laogai.
Mm-hmm. They chomp down on cyanide inside of their molars and are dead, I guess. That's what happens. Yeah. They didn't say cyanide, but they did say poison, and this building gets, burned up afterwards. So these two dudes are probably dead. This individual, basically, Sid's like, oh, why are you doing this? Why would they have to do this? And this individual's like, I knew you'd come butting in. Say, Sid, are you still not good around dogs? And an interesting little detail. This individual reveals themselves to be X-Craft, which, sure, absolutely. Sid Craft, Zero Craft, and X-Craft. What a perfect... Elon Musk is naming characters in a manga now, I guess. So, X-Craft says, yes, it's now time for Zero Specialty, a game of love. Let's see what kind of love you will pick from the options you are given. And he falls backwards off a building. Yeah. Basically, there's a big fire. The building's going to get burned down. But Sid's like, there's a lift that goes down. However, someone needs to stay behind to actually manually turn the lift down. So he waits till Lulu and the kids are all on. And then Sid's like, I will be the one to do this. However, do not be concerned. I know how to get out of this situation safely, even though Lulu is very scared and wants Sid to come. So he is lowering them down, and then Sid starts to kind of rappel down using some clothes. And he's like, I saw that man who called himself X used this sort of trick to get in before. But at this point, the building's on fire, so he can't take the same exit route. So he's like, all right,
whoops.
Well, I guess I'll try going a little bit lower and see. And he reaches a point where there's just not enough room anymore. His fire line basically is starting to catch fire. And he's thinking to himself, I was trying to keep cool, but maybe I can't do it after all. But it's okay. The kids are safe. And I risked my life to save someone who's supposed to be my foe. I mean, I am a fool, but I couldn't treat her like a stranger. If I didn't save her, I'm sure I'd regret it. That's why and he continues he's falling at this point. Lulu jumps out of one of the windows, grabs him, throws a rappel line up, and she's like, I made it in the nick of time. And there is a great moment where he's like, Miss Cat, why did you? And she's like, my apologies. I borrowed a rope from downstairs. And he's like, that's not what I meant. I meant, why did you save me? And she says, because I wanted to make my own decision. I've always lived with being a phantom thief as my only option. I never questioned it. And at this moment, for the first time, I have something I must steal for myself. Souffle and Elio.
The movie star and the rest.
Souffle and Elio show up.
Here they are.
And get extra so fucking hard. There's a big full-page spread of Lulu kissing, I was going to say Uega, of kissing Sid. They just have blank expressions. And Lulu blushes and says, one day, I swear, I'll steal your heart. This is my choice. And the end of the chapter is just a bunch of silliness as the girls are like, why did you do that? Elio's dying. That's the chapter.
Yeah, so if we're watching the gambling odds of which girl's gonna win this, Lulu is at a firm 130 to 100 right now. You're gonna have to put down a lot in order to get just one back. I'd say that Souffle has an outside chance, given that, she's got the childhood promise angle. She was the first love interest we were actually introduced to. Those kind of roles apply. She also did get the first kiss with Sid.
That's true.
Elio's going to have to do some work on that fake date that she's
Yeah.
got coming up with Sid. Otherwise, I'm sorry, but we're just going to have to we're gonna have to re-explore your contract and look into some trade options, put you in another romance series, because you're just not doing it for a skid. You're not living up to your rookie contract deal. I'm sorry.
It's rough. Hakua, she's a bench player, but she's still kind of at your same level, and you really don't want to be competing for the starting spot with the sibling fetish character.
I completely forgot who that was for a second.
I don't know if I got her name right. I'll be honest, if it's not on the screen.
I just fully erase her from my mind every time the chapter with her comes out.
I'm like, Nick, the fourth girl in the series. You're like, Misery Madcap? She's not one of the harem members.
Elio's assistant? All right, that's Sid Craft. Yeah, hey, some progress was made in the big relationship. Isn't that nice? Let's go over to Ultimate Exorcist.
Isn't that cute, Nick? But it's wrong! That's a Two Stupid Dogs reference for anybody who's listening. I don't think anybody else got that, but if you did, I appreciate and adore you.
I don't think I ever actually watched Two Stupid Dogs. I just watched the Secret Squirrel segments that were packaged with them.
Honestly, maybe the best way to enjoy it. The only thing I remember about that show is that particular bit of, isn't that cute? But it's wrong! Every time.
All right. Chapter 42, Thriving on the Razor's Edge. Yeah, it's time for Sosuke to fight the demon guy. I've already forgotten his name because it's a very weird name. But it's not correct. It's a lot of weird syllables. So he has used boiling water in order to thaw himself at this point. Kurose Sata is his name. And so now he's trying to use that in proper attacks, unleashing Salamander to try and attack Sata, but just unleashes a massive wave of boiling water that doesn't hit him. And Sosuke admits that he couldn't really target Sata, so he just focused on saving lives by freezing everything that Sata had left in his wake, all the frozen people and buildings behind him. So they start attacking with, frozen ice and boiling water going up against you. We get basically a beam battle at that point with their attacks for a little bit. And then Sosuke is he's making stuff up on the fly at this stage. Okay, let me see if I can load Salamander into White Dragon together. Launches an attack against Sata, who dodges it. And Sosuke realizes, hey, you dodged that, which means that you were scared of it. But Sata says, all right, you got some spunk. I'll let you sample the despair that comes with challenging a demon lord. And frozen air starts to just swirl around him. It gets colder and colder. And Sata says, a mere minus 460 degrees Fahrenheit. That's all it takes to reach absolute zero in the human world. Do you know what absolute zero is in the demon world? It's minus 868 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's so cold.
Scientific impossibilities to express how cold this is.
That's how cold it is, Nick.
I mean, it doesn't actually make sense in any way, shape, or form. Absolute zero is just when all movement between molecules stops. You can't stop and then get colder from there. It doesn't happen. But Sata demonstrates this by flicking a bit of his aura over Sosuke's shoulder, and it just immediately obliterates the tree behind him, which freezes and shatters in an instant. And then he lunges towards Sosuke and says, you probably want to dodge. And Sosuke does, but he gets grazed, and ice immediately creeps up his arm, cutting off his ability to use that arm for combat. And Sata mocks this, but Sosuke is not giving up. Sata continues to mock him and says, too bad. But Sosuke says, "What makes you think that that's it? I've got 2 guns!" And he uses his other arm to start shooting stuff, but, he's not doing so great. He's got a big hunk of ice hanging off of his arm, and he manages to melt it with his boiling water, but Sata notes, melting it won't do you any good. My attack is a glacial assault from the demon world. It doesn't just freeze things, it destroys them from the inside out. Your left arm is nothing but dead meat. It'll rot and fall off soon enough. But, he says, you're gonna die soon anyway. Everyone's gonna die anyway soon, so don't worry about your loss. You tried your best, but this is it. I'll do you the honor of using my full power. And he starts, like, Hadouken charging up at this point, and he says, I'm going to just freeze everything. All of you will be encased in silver. Ice swirls around, but Sosuke says, you think this is enough to stop me? I knew exercising you on my own was going to come at a cost. You can have my left arm. And he forcefully grabs his dead left arm with his right arm so that he can finger gun with both hands together, concentrating an attack. Sada thinks it's no good, but he's like, hey, I'm good at pointless struggles. Fires a perfect blue into another beam battle, and Sosuke's like, I'm not going to give up. I'll protect everyone. And he thinks about, like, everyone in his life. His mother, yes. Ijiri, yes. But even, like, the servants at his mansion back home. It's a really cute little gesture. And on top of that, he's like, if one arm isn't enough, I will give him everything. Because Kiyoshi trusted him with this. And he's like, he trusts me with this, and I am going to stop him. I won't let him down, even if it kills me. And he expands his hands into a bigger beam, which he refers to as Jabberwocky.
Great names. I don't care. I don't know why anything in this series is called what it is, but every time they reveal a new attack name, I'm like, I like this attack name. It's good. It's weird.
A huge beam blasts through the ice, and as the smoke clears, vapor is coming off of both their bodies. Sata steps forward, cocky, head still back like he's looking down on Sosuke, who slumps over, and he says, you never should have had a chance. Do you fancy yourself a martyr? Hot-headed bastard. And his body cracks and breaks apart into chunks of ice. And Sosuke collapses. He's spent, but he has won. He has declared the winner, and he's beaten up, but he's got a smile on his face.
Yeah, this shit ruled.
Yeah, shonen battles!
This is a great fight. I live for these, and I feel like we get them rarer and rarer these days. And this shit ruled. It was a multi-chapter fight with a really, really cool conclusion. I love that. I won't let him down, even if it kills me. Like, yeah, Sasuke rules. He's like the best character in the series. I truly think this is like the coolest shit that the series has done yet.
Awesome chapter. Yeah. All right, we got to move on to Marriagetoxin. All right, so Nabe-cha has been stopped from her rampage due to the combined efforts of Chinatsu and Gero. At this point, Chihiro shows up on his sword hopping surfing technique thing. So Nabe is really cute because she's like, oh, are you all right? And he's like, I should be asking you that. But he also realized, like, holy shit, these two stopped Nabe. That makes them even more worthy as my rivals. But the village has been wrecked, which is not good. But what is good is that Kinosaki got there ahead of everyone. They show up now and say that, yep, I checked all the houses, no residents. The village has basically been abandoned, so no one's been hurt here. And so Gero's like, oh, not a single person was hurt. That's good news. We cut over for one panel to Beppo, who had the rocks fall on him. Good stuff.
He lived. That's the important thing. We all learned.
However, Kinosaki says, there was one resident who insisted on staying and living here by himself. Isn't that right, Gaku-san? And of course, Gaku shows up, and he is, an old man. He's 100 years old now, and he's slumped over. He's got a walker with him. He's, a big man, but he's old and scarred and stuff. And Kinosaki says, yeah, he's been waiting for you the whole time, Nabe-cha. And on this romantic encounter, Nabe takes out her cane sword and rushes to attack him immediately, doesn't hesitate in the slightest. And Garo's like, "Oh shit, this is bad. Oh man, she's gonna kill him." And Kinosaki just says, "It's all right." And Gaku catches the sword in his giant hand, and they exchange friendly greetings, and they start fighting, and they're really happy. Nabe is really grateful to everyone for helping her to wake up so that she can actually properly face Gaku for real. And Gaku's just as happy to see her. Says, "I bought all the land from everyone who moved away, so we won't bother anyone." And they just start fighting.
I think that's the sweetest part of all this, is that this dude knew this hat thing was going to happen. So he's like, "I'm buying the land here just so we could have like an all-out fight." And that's very cute.
Garo notes that he is not out of his prime at all. And they say like, "Oh, he's just never stopped training." And we get a little shot of Gaku training by, lifting a tree out of the ground. No big deal. Kinosaki brings up as everyone kind of like moves away to safety that Nabe never found a way to be honest about her feelings towards Gaku. The era they were born into may have had to do with it, but it's true that the choice she made is also right in its own way. But, they say to Chinatsu, "What about you? What kind of relationship do you want to have with Garo-kun?" And Chinatsu thinks about that as we get, some more shots of Nabe and Gaku dancing around each other, killing each other, and having big smiles on their faces as they do so until they finally collapse in bloody heaps. Everyone gathers around them and starts to get broken up. Nabe declares to Kirito that she leaves the Iron Clan over to him. He starts crying. And she says to Garo and Chinatsu, "If you ever meet someone you love, I hope you can choose the path that leaves you with no regrets." And she and Gaku have a moment where they get to hold hands and say, "I love you," as they die next to each other, having fought to death. And everyone's crying except Garo, who looks somber. He looks thoughtful and somber. But that's our first chapter. There was another one that came out, so we gotta go through that as well. Right into the funeral of Nabe being buried. She gets buried with a little picture of Gaku, which is very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
The Iron Clan is there, of course, very upset, especially Kirito, and Gaku has been left with something very important to think about from Nabe's last words to him. Kirito comes to him and says, "Thank you for staying with Nabe through the end," and he kind of took a very similar lesson from Nabe about, the importance of relationships, but for him, it's lifetime rivals. So he's trying to go with you're like, "Please be my rival, please be my rival," but he can't bring himself to say it. But fortunately, Garo says, "Hey, your clan's left a really deep impression on me, so would you like to spar with me again sometime?" Aw, it's a date. So,
Nick, I've turned it all around. I'm all about Garo and Kirito now. That's my one true pairing.
Absolutely not. If we're gonna rank love interests, Kirito is like eternal bottom for Garo for me.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Oh, don't anyone take that out of context. All right, so Kirito is very happy about that. He goes off grinning. And Kinosaki congratulates Garo on that, and he's like, "Huh?" Doesn't understand the significance of what's just happened. They say goodbye to Chinatsu, who reunites with Erina, because they've been away for a few days. Erina, of course, wants to know how to go with Garo-san. And Chinatsu makes a big victory pose and says, "We're going to see each other next week." And Erina's like, "That's it?"
You were with him for 3 days.
I thought I was going to have a baby brother in 9 months. What the fuck? So, but it turns out they're making essentially a date, but it's also just a training session together. And so they're training in the woods. They're running together, going through obstacles and stuff. And we see that, Chinatsu asked Garo, "Please go out. Let me go out with you." on one of your physical training sessions. Ah, you bastards.
It's very adorable because in that panel you can see Kinosaki so excited, like he's like, "Yay!" and then like has to later be like, "Okay, this is just a training thing." Okay,
still smiling, still happy,
still happy for you, but I thought I was done.
We get a little bit of information dumped as well, including how they don't know where the hell these mechanical arms that the people that they fought, where they came from, even after like they gathered them up and gathered info. But Chinatsu is also, of course, going for her protector license renewal, and Gero asks her like, "Hey, when did you like start doing that?" And Chinatsu just says, "I mean, I just happened to be watching a movie that showed the job, and I thought I wanted to be a protector instead of being the person who's protected. And that was just kind of it. She just was drawn to that role instead of like wanting to be the damsel in distress, basically." She realizes that she's clearly like more tired than Gero is as they go through this obstacle course together. And she's like, after seeing you, seeing Nabe, seeing Gaku, and Kirito, I realized that I've got a long way to go. But Gero says, "I think that you're doing great because you're the first person to ever been able to keep up with me on this course." Says, "Even my sister couldn't do that," which, kind of want to see what assassin skills have stuck for your sister, Gero, if she ever shows up again. That might be fun. But, he says, it's great to just have somebody there who can just run with me, who can be there with me. And we get a little flashback from his perspective at the funeral to Kinosaki telling him, "Hey, Chinatsu really helped you out, huh? Make sure you let her know how much you appreciate it the next time you see her." And so we see him doing that, as Gero says, "Thank you for everything. I think you might be the only one who is always willing to go along with my ridiculous requests." And we get a shot of them in the, kids in a trench coat Gaku formation before. And it's like, yeah, I guess that she would have had a lot of trust in you to do something as insane as that. Chinatsu rushes off because she's embarrassed, of course, but she turns around to say, "I want to do more, so will you keep on training with me from here on out?"
Aww.
They're going steady. Asterisk. But that's not the end of the chapter, because Chinatsu gets back to the camper that she's staying in with Erina, and she says the date went well, and she reflects on what Nabe told her and says, "There's no mistaking how I feel. I think I'm in love with Gero, and I'm thinking of telling him the next time we meet." Big 2-page spread of her just kind of like holding herself to come to that conclusion. And Erina doesn't say anything for a bit. And so Chinatsu's like, "Oh, hey, geez, what am I saying?" And then she looks over at Erina and says, What? And then realizes, "You're not Erina," as quote-unquote Erina stands up, and it's the sensei who says, "I'm honored you feel that way about our Hikaru-sama. Oh no! What have you done? Why did you do this? So, don't pose as that child. That's creepy."
This is the same guy who showed up like swimming in the water at the end of the last arc, right?
I believe so.
Okay. So we don't know exactly what this dude is doing, but we know he seems to be targeting the women that know that they have feelings for Gero at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it is, I guess, in the Poison Clan's interests for Gero to, either move past this whole getting married thing or get along with this getting married thing. So there could be a lot of different things that could be happening there. Well, two things, but
Yeah. I hope what all this means is that Erina is fine. This dude decided to pose as this little girl, and she's off getting ice cream or something like that. Something might happen to Chinatsu. She's an adult. She'll be fine. That child better be protected. She better be safe. She better have a fucking ice cream and a turtle or something.
Yes. All right, I need you to get out of this camper so I can meet with your surrogate mom. "No, I'm not going to do that." "Here, have $50 and go to Chuck E. Cheese." "All right."
Catch you later.
Oh my God, Quinn! It's chapter 96 of Exorcist. Greeting.
I had to sit here and I had to recall what was happening in New Exorcist.
It's so much.
And then I remember, it doesn't matter anymore, does it? New Exorcist is just running on its own fucking momentum in this constant state of like, are we in trouble? Does this matter? Who knows? I don't know. Who knows? It's New Exorcist. It could end in a month. Who knows?
All right. Gakuro and Nue are confronting Raisei with Gakuro's new bride? Fiance? I don't know. And so they're stopping him as he's trying to do this thing to resurrect all the Hyo at once. Kasha is tied up in the ritual. Nue realizes that Raisei is bonded with someone else and says, we're not actually here to fight. We're just here to kind of like greet each other and also figure out what you're doing. But you communicate something secretly to Gakuro about the barrier under their feet. If we get trapped by the barrier, then we're in trouble. So she turns to Gakuro and says, hey, let us greet you. And Gakuro reflects for a very long time about what she means by this, but the point is that he wasn't expected to have to talk, and Nue is putting the ball in his court to do so.
It's honestly the funniest thing about Gakuro at this point is that he's just so awkward that Nue tries to like pass the baton off to him, and he's like, oh, I wasn't expecting to talk.
Are you sure you want me to talk? Well, you keep on looking at me. All right. And there is an unintended flex that he makes, which is actually pretty funny, where he says, I'm Gakuro Yajima, Nue's current medium, and you're her old medium, right? But he like means it earnestly, and the girls are just like, oh, wow. Just like...
He went in kind of hard on that.
But... Gakuro says, like, hey, if you resurrect the Hyo, then the old Exorcist Bureau will need to act. And Nue is just like, why are you telling him that? He already knows that. and so Gakuro's like, he's not talking back. Okay, well, all right, that's fine. I'll just keep on talking. I can't just shut up. I gotta keep talking.
This is the funniest thing when he's like, do you like Nue? Like, it's really like a step away from him being like, do you like pizza? Like, he's just trying to find whatever common ground they have so he can have a little conversation.
Nice weather we're having, huh?
He's like, no, I'm trapped inside this town ceiling inside of demon barrier. Like, oh,
I'm so stupid for heating up the weather, huh?
Do you get nervous when women wear bikinis around you?
Oh yeah, so much so. I mean, the belly button's like, oh my god.
Oh, we're friends.
No.
Oh.
So Raisei just comes out and's like, yeah, I like her. So, yeah, that happens, and he looks at Gakuro and says, you are like me, a wretched, empty human who sees no value in themselves. You're in love with Nue too, aren't you? And this catches Gakuro off guard. And so Raisei pivots and goes, you don't seem aware of it yet. It's like, that's such like a, I'm a psychic kind of thing. It's like, you're in love. Oh, you don't realize that you're in love yet, though. And your father's name began with a letter from A through
Z.
Y.
Yeah. That'd be
Damn,
great.
it was that shit.
Yeah, A through Y. Like, my father, Zedediah. Like, god damn it, you fucking kid. Can't anyone in your fucking family be normal? He's like, I have a half-sister who's in love with me, kind of.
I'm not sure about that, actually, because she's kind of antsy about it, too. But anyway, I've got all sorts of girls that are pretending to be my sister, but not related by blood, because that'd be weird.
But don't worry, my only current sister, also not related to me by blood.
That's just a weird detail.
Just in case.
Go back to being empty and miserable, shit. So Raisei assures Gakuro, you will realize that she has charmed you too someday, and you'll walk the same path I did. You are not so different, you and I. Blah, 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 blah. Nue says, however, all right, anyway, Gakuro, let's go before we get locked in. And Raisei realizes, oh, the Hyo Resurrection Array has collapsed. How did that happen? And appearing next to Gakuro is frickin' Karasu Tengu. who just used their power to hide the fact that they were basically hacking into the system while they were all standing there talking about bullshit, and Raise didn't notice it. What a great villain. So yeah, that happens. And but Raisa says, "Oh, it's no problem. This will just be a handicap, and I'll repay you back later." So Nue's like, "All right, goodbye." Summons Xenoblade, and they fly off. And Nue is like flirty with Raise when she goes because she's like, "Thanks for saying that you liked me." And then they fly off. They get away as arms come up to try and grab them, but according to Gakuro, they're going even faster than Suo can go. So it's a good thing that she just got her power up that lets her go super fast, because who cares? So they then break through the barrier, get out, and Nue looks over her shoulder down at Gakuro, looking all cool and lit and stuff like that, because she is, I guess, also a romantic interest of his, and says, "Let's go home." A single feather falls down into Raise's hand, and he goes, "She hasn't changed." Nue has Gakuro in her lap later in order to recharge him, and Gakuro brings up, "Can we do this a different way? I've been meaning to bring it up for a while now. It's kind of too erotic for me." And Nue's like, "I'm going to change the subject so I can keep on having my way. The summer festival's tomorrow." So Gakuro gets embarrassed about that. And he says, "Two people have told me they love me." I mean, three people have told you that they love you, because there was Sujita and there was Fujino, and then there's the girl that you're engaged to. So three people have told you that.
Well, the last one's, I think, supposed to be considered a fake engagement at this point. But also, yeah, like that is like another girl who said they have like real strong affections for you. Also, you just met a girl who has like giant plushies of you. Like,
yeah, four people. Yeah. That you know of. So Gakuro promises that he's going to give them his answer tomorrow. But before that can go off, he goes to like go to the bathroom, and he runs into Suo, and they talk for a little bit, but Suo catches his hand and says, "Hey, tomorrow's the festival. Do you want to meet up and go check it out together?" Oh no! Well, the thing that happened was going to happen eventually. It's finally, it looks, because this is so weird. We have gone school festival confession. Anyway, enough about that school festival. We got this other important combat shit to do. Oh, school festival. We've gone back and forth like 3 times.
This fucking school festival is becoming like the fireworks factory of this series. Like, when are we just gonna do this stupid festival and get this over with? But
I would never have been able to guess, based on where each of the last couple of chapters left off, that they would end the next chapter the way that they have. It's been wild the last couple of weeks.
I have no idea. It feels like we're moving to something really big, but also we're just going to kind of spin the wheels for a little bit. So, I don't know. I really don't understand what this entire detour was about. But like, we're going to buy ourselves time, but like, you can just decide how fast the magic array thing works. Like, you could just be like, it's going to activate in 5 days. Like, you just do whatever. I don't really know what this accomplished other than to, like, tease out Gakuro's feelings potentially for Nue. But that's not really something that's been developed in any way. Like, I never really gotten a sense that there was anything between them besides, like, almost like a otherworldly, motherly affection for Gakuro from Nue.
All I know is that we wouldn't have gotten that character whose boobs were bigger than her head, and I'm sure that was a very important element we had to introduce in this story.
Why did we introduce little Kyoko? Remember her?
Yes.
The girl with the guitar, the giant thighs?
Yes.
Why did we introduce her?
Look, it's important.
She's like, after everything has happened, extra lore as to why Fujino's backstory is sad. And you're like, but I got it. I know, why are we...
She has a guitar, Quinn. Come on.
I guess. All right, Akane-banashi.
Yeah, story 156, Exceptional, featuring, it's a color page with our 3 rival competitors for this upcoming competition. It's been 2 months since the Zwiyun prize thing was set up, so Akane has been like preparing for it. Meanwhile, both Hikaru and Koreshi have declared that they're going to be taking part of it as well, which means that there's a lot of buzz over this. People are like saying that this is going to be what decides which of the three of them is going to be the biggest rising star. So we kind of are focused on Tyson a bit as he is, following Akane around. And he's like, there's like a month and a half to go, and Aneki is being a Tanuki right now because Akane is out on the street. She's dressed in one of her big Tanuki outfits, and she's, drawing the attention of kids and stuff and saying like, there's tickets for Itakaya Umi doing a big special live event. And Tyson's just like, okay, he's got a sign. There's a really great detail as she's talking and explaining why she's dressed as a Tanuki, which is nothing grabs better attention than a Tanuki. And she cups her chin all cool and triumphant, and she has an eye glint, but the eye glint isn't in her eye, it's in the eye of her Tanuki outfit. It's great. But Tyson's really worried about the fact that, her rivals are going to be preparing for it, but Akane assures him, I'm dead serious about all this. But of course, she's saying all this while she's in the Tanuki suit, so he's like, it doesn't feel like you're being serious.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. But he observes that, like, man, she's really struggling to draw a crowd because she's got that huge disadvantage of being away from Japan while the others have been building up their followings here. Akane is doing the cheapskate routine that was done previously by Shomei. I forget his name. Anyway, but she's doing it. And she's trying to follow the cadence, the script of it. And Tyson is helping out by like timing her at the different beats. And Akane is upset because when they're like drinking afterwards, like it's not happening. And so the timing and the lines and pauses are off script. And Akane thinks to herself, I knew it was important I had to tighten up my delivery, but once I'm up on stage, I can just feel it bubbling up from within, all the need to improvise and fall into the world of Rakugo. And she remembers the words of the person that she's seeking instruction from, my art comes after surrendering your freedom. So she's getting frustrated with herself, and she thinks, if I'm not getting the laughs and the pauses that I want, do I just have the wrong outlook? And she remembers being told that she didn't have the sight. So she thinks, what am I not seeing? But then she gets distracted by her stomach growling, and she's like, I gotta go, though. And after she makes her way out, Miku, the bartender that she's, worked part-time for before, and has had a number of, encounters with since, talks with Tyson some, and he says, she must be trying something very tricky. And Tyson says, most people would say it's the opposite. Mm-hmm. And he notes, her timing was off on all those lines before. They weren't perfect timings, but every single line landed. So you'd think she was correcting them to the ideal timing. But her ability to assist the crowd is exceptional. So she is, doing things well. It's just that Shomei is a freak. Yeah. Most people would do things the way that Akane is doing them. So Miku observes, you seem to really admire her. And Tyson says, well, my master, Taizen Arakawa, acknowledges her talent, so I acknowledge it as well. Miku thinks that she's going to win. Tyson has his doubts, but he says her plan is to perform Shiwaya like today and win the Zwiyun prize. And I'm guessing she's going to crush it. But just as he says that, we cut away to Akane having a meeting with Isho Arakawa and asking, what's that supposed to mean? And Isho says, exactly what it sounded like. You want to compete for the Zwiyun prize? No laughing. Show that you can win without making the audience laugh.
Bum, 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 bum.
So she's got to prove herself to Shomei, win this competition, and not make the audience laugh when she's doing her performance.
Stakes.
The handicaps just keep coming.
The stakes are against her. Every chapter adds like a new wrinkle. I'm waiting for like next chapter and my Karu shows up and it's just like, hey, just like a heads up, don't use the letter R at all. Like, I just thought it'd be funny, but like, try that.
And anytime that you say a word that has the syllable shmi in it, then you have to stand up and then like do a jig around your cushion and then sit back down. And if you forget that, then you're going to just be docked 10 points.
Yeah, and no laughing. You can't. I know the shmi thing is inherently kind of funny and weird, but if anyone laughs, you do have to cut off a finger.
So you have to do it as morosely as possible,
like a funeral shmi. One Piece, Nick. Let's wrap up this week with One Piece chapter 1.
Before we hit that, I just want to make one note about Akane-banashi, which is I actually wonder if the constraint of not getting laughs will allow her to tap into the thing Shomei wants her to because of that.
I think it will, and I truly think a show is trying to help her. In a similar way. Well, I mean, this isn't that far off. Shikama did stuff like that, where he like forced her to do things that she wasn't comfortable with because he was like, I gotta get you out of your wheelhouse. And like, if a show just wanted to fuck with her, he would have done that. Clearly there is some kind of reasoning to it, and he's putting her up to a test. So I do think she's gonna come out of this a lot stronger. And yeah, probably like knowing that she's not trying to go for a laugh is going to help her kind of better see how she can hit her timings. Because if you're going for a laugh, you're always trying to find that spot. Like, where does the punchline really hit? Like, that kind of stuff. So it does give her a possibility to maybe re-examine her own work when she's going to be trying for something I assume more serious.
And this is a form of surrendering freedom as well, which Shomei says is the key to his art. So, yeah.
All right. One Piece, Nick. Chapter 1147.
Jesus Christ, that's so many.
What we're afraid of. Every so often, you just gotta say it. You gotta say it out loud and be like, this is fucking crazy. So we continue our cover story. Yamato is getting fed a bunch of food by Raizo. Good for him. There's also a big hug from, oh gosh, what was her name? Otan?
Otaku?
Otaka?
Otoko.
Otoko, that's it. Sorry, I had a wrong button there. We open with a reminder that Saul had for Robin and Chopper. That's basically like, hey, stay hidden. I've seen this guy before. He's a holy knight. He's immortal. So you guys hide, basically, and protect yourself. It's the best option.
Nope, Otoko was the smiley girl. Hang on.
Otama.
I'll figure it out.
Okay.
It is Otama. Yeah.
So Sommers is like, well, I guess that means there were 2 survivors of Ohara. The Navy sure did a sloppy job. And that's when Gunko shows up. And she's got the rest of the Straw Hats with her, captured at this point. Everybody's like sort of tied up or whatnot. And there is a moment where they're like, how could you let this happen, Jinbei? And Jinbei's like, shut up. What are these powers? Also, she didn't bother tying up Usopp because he's not a threat, I guess. I just like that as a detail. Now, Brooke brings up, I feel like there's something about that woman, however. Maybe it's just my imagination. She immediately points a sword at him and kicks him in the face and is like, listen, you, I want you to write songs for the rest of my life. You're going to be my slave. And I love this moment because I didn't bring it up, but Sommers has a moment when Gunko shows up with some of the Straw Hats where he's like, oh, you caught the Straw Hat crew. You gonna take him with us? And killing him, it's like, you motherfuckers better not. You're gonna get Luffy real pissed off, and we do not need that. And it continues here when she's like, you're gonna be my slave. Gunko's like, no, I don't want to start shit with Luffy. Like, everyone's like, you know what? Great call. He really fucks with you if you can mess with this shit. So let's just not worry about that.
He's gonna turn me into a pancake and flip me over with a giant spatula or something. I don't want to deal with that.
I don't think my thorn shit's gonna be good enough to stop him. He is going to fucking annihilate me. However, Brooke does respond to her request and say, I'm quite sorry, young lady, but from the day that Captain Straw Hat Luffy rescued me, I have decided to dedicate my life to no one but him. And she's like, well, what if I said I'd kill you? And he says, I'd rather die than live without honor. And she kicks him really fucking hard. What a dick. We see that
something happens with her when that happens too.
That is
There's a
true.
brief moment where she grimaces afterward. So it seems as though, because Brooke sensed something from her, that there might be something going on beyond just she's a fan of his music.
Yeah.
But no real clear indication of that yet.
Starting to make you question all these bandages she has on and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe something going on. The Holy Knights managed to tap into the radio system that's going on around Elbaph, and Sommers gives the whole thing basically being like, I know you're all trying to figure out what's going on with these monsters. That is us. I am Sommers of the Holy Knight. We are here from Marriagetoxin. You are here to be conscripted into our army, basically. We have kidnapped a bunch of your children. There is a moment where he's like, it's a shame we can't send video. But they do get the information about all the children, so they're going to let them know. They wake the children up from their dream, but they're still forced to or compelled to continue walking. There's a moment with Colin who's like at the front of the group, and he's like, okay, we're kidnapped, but that doesn't mean, we can't see them or whatever. Or no, one of the kids says that.
The kids are complaining like, why can't we see mommy and daddy? He's like, we're kidnapped. That means we can't see them. It's like, just like, oh, wake up.
But they're all surprised. He says, stop whining. I'm here. Unlike you crybaby weaklings, I'm a warrior. And then he sees one of the monsters and he's like, eek! It's very funny. There is a moment where some of the giants realize they can't fight back against some of the nightmares because some of them are the kids' moms, which means it's their wives. And they're like, I can't beat up my wife. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. And it ends up taking down, what was the name of this ship? I want to call it the Great Eric, but I feel like that's wrong. I don't remember. No, anyway, Dory and Bragi's ship ends up going down as a result of this. So Sommers states it quite clearly. We are taking your kids. We are going to make you giants our slaves in battle. And I bet you're wondering who these kids are. And he, one by one, goes and names all of the kids, specifically starting with Ilva, who is Chief Ja Rule's granddaughter. So he is trying to kind of place that.
Chief Ja Rule's great-great-granddaughter.
That's right. I forgot how fucking old he is. They name a bunch of characters. None of that's really relevant. The only thing that matters is when they bring up that Colin is also in there, and we see Ripley, who is they were the first to attend to the scene of the Great Crash. She has Scopper Gabon. I forget what his actual name is. I want to call him Scooper, but Scopper, I believe it is. And he has this line where he's like, did you hear that, Ripley? Our son is a hero. And she's like, you motherfucker. He's kidnapped, you asshole.
He's so unconcerned for some reason.
Yeah. So, Sommers continues, hey, here are our demands. Heed them closely. Your school is completely useless in war, and your library is packed full of pointless records of the past. You will burn them down right now and swear fealty to us. And if you do not, we will eliminate the kids one at a time. And he basically just says, you have to make the call, Chief Ja Rule. And he's like, me? We have Anya come in and be like, no, you don't understand. The school is the symbol of Elbaph's current state of peace, and the library is full of everything, all the knowledge of the world, all the sacrifice of O'Hara's scholars. It is a fortune that belongs to more than just Elbaph. And we end the chapter with Chopper saying to Robin, no, Robin, you can't, as Ripley tells Gabon to basically be like, please, you gotta do it. And we see Robin and Scopper in the chapter jointly saying, I won't let them do this. So Robin is not going to sit here and let everything happen. It looks like she is going to intervene. We do also get a map, one of the simplest maps Oda has probably ever had to draw, I believe. I do want to note.
They're all on one path.
I do want to note, Frankie is the closest to killing him. So I'm hoping for another Frankie fight in here somewhere.
Oh, dear. Yeah, I really liked this indication that, hey, Robin's going to, be prominently involved in this fight after being reminded, like, hey, of her connection to Saul, all this stuff involving the libraries and everything. It's nice to have a character who's got investment in the goings-on getting involved combat-wise. And Robin's not gotten to do much in a while at this point.
She did get to do the fight with Black Maria, but that was kind of
That's
like a... That was also like kind of a shit stomping. Like, she kind of just showed off how cool she was, which is awesome, but like, it wouldn't be nice to see her get to do something really big. And also, Sommers fucking sucks. Like, and I mean this in a good way. Like, he's a compelling antagonist, but he's an asshole. I want to see him get his comeuppance, and I want Robin to tear him a fucking part after he like tries to kill Saul. Like, I want her to fill his fucking throat with fingers and just like suffocate him. Like, I just want like the most gruesome, violent fucking act, basically.
Just constantly poke him in the uvula so he's just constantly throwing up.
Yeah, exactly.
Please no. Ah! Oh man, yeah. A lot of good chapters that we had in the last couple of weeks. So this will be a little bit of a choice. Quinn, what was your favorite chapter in these last 2 weeks?
Good question. Good question. I think for chapter, I am going to end up going with the Ichi the Witch. I was blanking on the series. I just wanted to call it every name but Ichi the Witch. I really liked it. I like where we're going with Gokuraku, and I just think this is gonna like come together well. I'm super excited for Ichi to fight Gokuraku. Like, I think that's just gonna be visually a very cool fight. So super excited.
I'm gonna go with Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi.
Yeah.
Awesome fight in that chapter, and had a ton of fun going through it again.
And my character of the week is not a question. It's Sosuke from Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi. That chapter ruled. Same way you're saying it. I just wanted to give him extra props because even though I gave it to him last episode, it's still an awesome character.
Yeah. Oh, man. I suppose that I'm going to give mine to... I'm going to give mine to Nabe from Marriagetoxin. It was nice to have a good conclusion to the build-up to the fight between her and Gaku. I like that the twist to everything was that there was no twist. It went exactly as she knew it was going to go, and these two old badasses fought until they died, and that was just it. But on top of that, getting as close to a happy ending as she was really going to get, her leaving those words of advice that seemed to have left an impact on the rest of the cast. Very cool.
Very much. The audience, by the way, picked Marriagetoxin as their chapter of the week, and Sosuke from Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi, one character of the week. Makes a lot of sense. Both chapters of Marriagetoxin were really, really good, so you can easily see either of those getting nominated.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, we made it, Quinn. We got through 21 chapters. We did it. Yeah. All right. We'll catch you guys next time for Weekly Manga Recap. If you want more of the show, we are on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com. That's where you can check out all of our audio episodes. We're also on Spotify and iTunes and other podcast feed type places. And we're on YouTube, youtube.com/weeklymangarecap, where there is a opening sequence done by Malin Jackstitz and Wesley Dell Cheddar, and occasionally title cards by Steve Man. You can check out Steve Man's artwork all across the internet just by searching for Steve Man Art. We have a Discord server, which is linked wherever the podcast gets posted. Chat with our community about the chapters as they come up. There will be a buzz whenever the stream goes live on twitch.tv/RoloT, and all sorts of other stuff on top of that. You can also follow along with the series that we've got currently picked out to do as a recommendation in a section on there. And you can also just add your own recommendations for series you want us to cover in the future using the Google Doc, which is maintained by Ninja X3, and I'll be linked there too.
Yes.
We are on social media, RoloT, Nick F. Time, and Weekly Manga Recap. And there's also the WMR Votes account. All those are on BlueSky. And last but not least, of course, is our Patreon, where we post bonus episodes too. We got a long string of them that Quinn posted up in recent weeks. If you want to become a backer of the show and support us financially, you will get bonus episodes, including discussions about, we've done a lot of Western comic discussions recently. We do As Explained by Manga stuff, where we talk about non-manga things like Netflix shows and game series and stuff like that with comparisons to manga, and also just random experimental goofy things where we, for example, draft football teams and such using manga characters. So if that sounds like a good time to you and you want to help out supporting the show, come back over there. And that's going to do it. Until next week.
All right. Well, that is going to do it, everybody, for Weekly Manga Recap. I guess we'll be back next week with Sasaki and Miyano. Probably.
So.
Seems likely. I don't know. Is anything else happening next week? Mother's Day. Take care of your moms. Or don't if they suck. I'm not.
If they suck, then call them to remind them they suck. But otherwise.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.